What's up everybody, welcome back. Now this is my first video of 2022, it is January and we are back with more information on Metroid Prime 4 from Retro Studios. However, I have been very busy on my live channel, which I'll leave a link in the description, and I'm running a giveaway for that live channel, so make sure you subscribe and check out the links in the description and directions on how you can be one of 3 $50 Amazon gift card winners. I'm currently streaming every weekend on my live YouTube channel. We are going through each and every game of Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 up to 100% completion on that live channel, so definitely check that out and subscribe if you enjoy Metroid Prime content like you are obviously on this channel, and we will be playing other games as well. So all that information will be in the pinned comment and the description. And I do want to encourage engagement on this video, so if you do enjoy it, please hit the like button. If you don't, hit the dislike, and also leave a comment because I do look over those as well. Now, Retro Studios has finally talked about Metroid Prime 4, and this is the first time they've discussed Metroid Prime 4 in public since December 14th of 2020 on their Twitter page. And just recently on January 27th, 2022, they actually tweeted out yet again, and of course whenever they talk about Metroid Prime 4 it makes news and everyone starts talking about it. So what they discussed here in their tweet is that they were looking for a tools engineer and a technology engineer to join them in their journey to develop Metroid Prime 4, and definitely this game has been a huge journey ever since it was announced in 2017. And then Nintendo canceled and rebooted development of the game and gave it to Retro Studios in January 2019, of course. But as we've talked about before, most likely Retro Studios was given Metroid Prime 4 towards the end of 2018 due to the nature of the news of them canceling and rebooting development with Retro Studios. Likely Nintendo did want to wait until January, when after the holiday season had passed. But there are some very interesting things we're going to talk about this tweet and the job postings that they're hiring for, because we did talk about the last one in December of 2021 in my last Metroid Prime 4 video with the technology engineer specifically, but we didn't discuss the tools engineer. However, before we discuss that, we have to discuss what is going on each and every time Retro Studios talks, or each and every time something is made public from that developer about Metroid Prime 4, and that is the reaction of everyone else online, which tends to be very negative in the outlook for Metroid Prime 4. Each and every time something happens with this game, people always write it off as being way far away, or that there's problems in development with this game, or they're extremely worried about the state of Metroid Prime 4, despite not ever talking about Metroid Prime 4, these individuals online, that is. But if you've been following the coverage on this channel, you'll know that we've been diving very deep on exactly what Retro Studios has been working on ever since 2019 when they got the job to develop Metroid Prime 4, which has been over 3 years now. And also, to go along with that, a couple videos ago I talked about how on this channel in early 2018, which was almost 4 years ago now, in early 2018, I believe it was March or April timeframe, we discussed how Retro Studios are actually hiring developers for a new 3D adventure game. Basically a story-driven, character-based action game is what they were trying to develop for, even back in 2018. So all the way back then, they were already working on something else, and now we have more information going along the way that they are working on another project as well in conjunction with the Metroid Prime 4, and of course most likely Metroid Prime Trilogy. So we got 3 different projects they are very likely working on, obviously Metroid Prime 4 being the main focus, but it does appear they're preparing for next gen hardware and for a new IP, quite possibly that same project that they started years ago that they didn't get to finish due to the task that Nintendo put on them, of course, to make Metroid Prime 4 from scratch yet again. But when you think of the development history of Metroid Prime 4 with Retro Studios since 2019, the development history has been very positive and actually extremely exciting. They've hired developers that worked on God of War, Crysis, Call of Duty, Tomb Raider, Jedi Fallen Order, Battlefield. All these gigantic AAA games, they've hired these amazing developers with huge, long storied careers with these other companies making big AAA games. And they started making this public back in April of 2019, just a few months after they got the job from Nintendo. They tweeted out saying Retro Studios is hiring, and they posted a picture saying, "We're looking for a few world-class developers to join the Metroid Prime team in our journey in developing Metroid Prime 4. And it took about 6 to 8 months, but then we started finding out exactly who these developers were, and that's when we found out who they were starting to hire, and that's when it was getting extremely exciting, if you recall. That part of their hiring has been completed. It looks like they have the heavy lifters all in place. The world-class developers have been hired. This was done back in 2019, 2020. 2021 is done now. Now we're in 2022, and since Nintendo is very likely to release new hardware by the time Metroid Prime 4 is released, which I'm estimating to be 2023, and I'm not saying that's when the hardware will be released, I'm saying that in the range of that time frame when they want to release Metroid Prime 4, it looks like they do want to have new hardware ready. And the reason why I say that is because, like I said in my last video, it basically says it right there in the job description. They're looking for people to work on their team with brand new technology to realize the vision of their games, meaning more than one. So not just Metroid Prime 4, but their games. And to further prove that, they also talked about taking full advantage of target hardware and architecture, not even mentioning the Nintendo Switch. And going along with that, they want someone skilled in file I/O performance, optimizing their network. So this very much sounds like someone that's going to be there for a very long time. And obviously their work with a new console or getting Metroid Prime 4 prepped for release on a new Switch console, which could be in late 2022 or 2023, somewhere around the time Metroid Prime 4 is released, hiring an individual like this at this time makes a lot of sense. However, I can see why there was a little bit of confusion publicly because of the wording of their tweet saying that they wanted to hire these people to help them with Metroid Prime 4. Keep in mind though, Metroid Prime 4 is the only game that has been confirmed that Retro Studios is working on. They are not actually confirmed to be working on Metroid Prime Trilogy, even though everyone assumes they are. And to go along with that, the 3D action story-driven game that they started working on in 2018, it seems like they are starting to work on at least the planning stages yet again, according to their previous job descriptions just from a couple months ago that we covered on this channel. So this is all-encompassing. It's not just for Metroid Prime 4, it's going to be for their future games as well. They're going to be going into the next generation. They're going to need to be ready for that, and that's exactly what this technology engineer is going to be doing. But they're also hiring for a tools engineer, which is even more straightforward. Basically, this person is going to develop and maintain and support their own PCs, their Windows PCs, and their libraries to make game content, or helping putting together demos and participating in code reviews for their work that they're presenting to their team. So this is a very straightforward position, and this also isn't something just for Metroid Prime 4. It is an all-encompassing position that they're going to be there and be helping them with for future games as well. So when looking closer at this, people really need to see this without all the tunnel vision and see the bigger picture here with what Retro Studios is doing. This is not just focused on Metroid Prime 4, this is focused on their future of game development to go along with coming in at the tail end of Metroid Prime 4's development, helping them with that. Because remember, this game has already been in development by Retro Studios for over 3 years now. So the game is most likely ready to be shown in some demo format. In fact, we talked about at the end of 2020 how they were doing testing for demos for this game, basically Metroid Prime 4 at that time, and that was over a year ago. So most likely by now they have some type of working build. They're going to be ready to show, maybe at E3 even of this year, which would be extremely exciting, of course, but we still have a long ways to go until we get there. However, I do think there is something ready to be shown for Metroid Prime 4. It is going to be up to Nintendo, of course, in order for them to show it. If you remember what happened to Bayonetta 3, many people thought the game was canceled. They kept saying, oh, we don't have any control about that. We got to wait for Nintendo to allow us to show the game. And then finally, when they did show the game, you could tell the game was quite a bit along in development already. And the game, Bayonetta 3, is going to be released this year in 2022. And we just saw the game for the first time in September of 2021. So you can see this is how Nintendo does things. Sometimes they show things when it's just about ready to be released or within, that 6 to 8 month period. So there is absolutely nothing at all to be worried about with Metroid Prime 4. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They've got all their ducks in a row here for Metroid Prime 4, and when they do eventually show this game, which could be this year, no doubt it's going to look extremely impressive because they've been polishing this game with world-class developers that they are confirmed to be hired back starting in 2019, which is 3 years ago. and now they're going to be ready to show an actual near finished product when they do finally show up, because Retro Studios knows full well the amount of hype the fans are feeling ever since Metroid Dread came out. People are very excited about Metroid. The excitement's back in the air for Metroid again. So definitely there's absolutely nothing, in my opinion, to be worried about with Metroid Prime 4. There's no indication whatsoever there's development problems. In fact, quite the contrary, it looks like things are going extremely well, and Nintendo's giving Metro Studios all the time they need to make the most impressive game they've ever done yet as a company, as a developer, and as fans. In my opinion, I do think we should be waiting patiently and of course eagerly to see something from them to come of this game. Just the fact that Retro Studios is still publicly talking about it themselves on their Twitter page is a fantastic sign that development is in fact going very well. Otherwise, you may not even hear anything from them. Things may be extremely quiet, and all of a sudden you may hear from Nintendo that there is a problem, right? Because if you recall back in 2017 when Metroid Prime 4 was announced at E3, Nintendo was 100% quiet on the game's development, and even the team that they hired to work on Metroid Prime 4 at the time that wasn't Retro Studios, they were completely silent as well. There was no word at all from them. The only thing we heard was an announcement from Nintendo that development was scrapped, and they decided to give the game back to Retro Studios. And ever since that time, we've gotten tweets from Retro Studios about hiring for Metroid Prime 4, and the excitement you could tell from those tweets. Their team is very excited to bring this game to life, and so should we. So the only thing that I believe Metroid Prime fans should be feeling for Metroid Prime 4 is not worry. No. It's hype. The more time goes by, the closer we are to seeing this game in action for the first time, and I can't wait to see it.